Hello, my friends! Welcome back. Today we are discussing episode 7 of the Dicely campaign. Let's get going! As always, we will be discussing spoilers for episode 7 and all previous episodes of the Dicely campaign, so if you aren't caught up, you can go check them out in my bio up above. So episode 7 starts up right where the last episode ended. Azaria is inside of the house where this meeting is taking place. It's a bunch of the citizens of Balesville gathered together in this house. They're talking about how they're going to separate themselves from the Ascendancy. The meeting is led by this guy named Cardric Mithralcoat. He's this super old dwarven man. Of course, the rest of the party kind of learns about this later because we're all out on the edge of the forest kind of watching the house when a bunch of guards ascend upon it. Guards see most of the party out there. Elwyn manages to keep herself hidden, but just about everyone else is seen by the guards, and various problems arise from this. Azaria is immediately captured and put in handcuffs. They go willingly because I think they want to get out of that house. Nell and Abe make themselves very well known to the guards. Drac and Gideon are also very obviously seen by the guards. Gideon is not in the greatest mental state right now, though. As we've talked about previously, he does not love Balesville. He's not happy to be back here, and he's very, jumpy. So when the guards find him and they attempt to kind of put him in handcuffs, he fires his gun at them, which is not ideal, but I do understand where Gideon is coming from. So Gideon freaks out, shoots off his weapon, they put him in handcuffs, but the second that he can get away, he does, and he runs off into the forest, handcuffed, just gone. Nell, Abe, and Azaria all get taken by the guards back into town. Drac and Elwyn are left in the forest trying to find Gideon. Which we do eventually. When we find him, he is face down in the mud in who knows where. He's confused. He doesn't remember who we are. He doesn't remember why he's here. He's angry at us for a moment for taking him back here. Elwyn and Drac, both of us are not particularly charismatic people. So both of us are trying to figure out how to help him, but neither of us are really very good at the talking thing. Drac breaks the handcuffs that are on his wrists. Elwyn kind of tries to talk him up, but he is clearly not having a good time. And this is another moment that is just an awesome performance by some of the players. Ryan is obviously a very talented actor. 1000% see it in his face. He was fully in Gideon. Basically this whole episode. Hats off to Ryan, of course, incredible actor. But anyways, Nell and Drac do manage to get Gideon back into town. We take him back to the inn. Around the same time as we're getting back to town, Azaria, Nell, and Abe are released by the guards, and the entire group meets back up in the inn. We make our way back up to our rooms to kind of talk about everything that has just happened, what we've just learned, and sort things out for ourselves. Rhea gives us the lowdown of what happened in the house. We also realize something strange about Cardric Mithralcoat here. Nell knows, because she has dwarven cousins, that dwarves tend to live to be about 300 years old. And just kind of off the cuff, Elwyn says something like, then he must have been just a child when the desolation happened, because Elwyn herself is 303 years old and she was 3 when the desolation happened. And then suddenly the group realizes that these numbers aren't adding up because he fought during the desolation, so he had to have been at least 20-ish years old, which would make him quite a bit over 300 now. Again, at minimum maybe 316, but up to 350, maybe even 400 years old, which is way longer than a dwarf would live. And it's possible that he's just been lucky, but Azaria does point out that he's been part of 2 wars now. Azaria also says, even though, he looked very old, he didn't act very old. So there is maybe some funky stuff going on here. That was a really fun puzzle to figure out as well, because I don't think we really had a lot of reason to be discussing this. It felt like just kind of a side conversation we were having that all of a sudden was wait a minute, is this really important? So I think this was a really cool little puzzle that Denny had added in, because I think there was a very real chance that we did not figure this out here. In any case, it makes this whole thing seem like it's a lot bigger than just farmers who are upset with the government. But since it's very late now, we all decide to turn in for the night. We're probably going to have to leave tomorrow. The guards do not seem to like us very much, and it might be in our best interest to get out of Balesville, especially for Gideon's sake. So we go to bed, and things happen. Elwyn is visited at night by her patron, Walela. I think one of the cool things about being a warlock is that you have this NPC who is a major player in your life. So I really appreciated Denny bringing her in again and giving me a deeper quest. And I love what Denny did with this too, because obviously Elwyn has some problems with Abe lately. I was talking with the cast and I was like, I don't know how I'm ever gonna get over this thing with Abe. And this is a good option. Elwyn is not a character that I've ever considered to be particularly religious, but she is very tied into the Arquette all of a sudden. And it's interesting to call her a collector of knowledge now. You know, Elwyn didn't do this to appease a god. She didn't do this to collect the divine knowledge of the world. She did this so that she could be powerful enough to find her own truths out. So I think it's interesting for Walela to say, like, you are a collector of the Arquette. We are collectors of the Arquettes. This is our job. This is our duty. I don't think that's how Elwyn has thought of this up until this point. Yeah, it's like a whole new purpose for her, which is kind of interesting. And I think I need to do some thinking about how seriously Elwyn takes that purpose. In any case, Elwyn does know that she needs to do this. She does need to do what Walela tells her to do because she cannot lose these powers. I mean, this is the only time in Elwyn's life that she's ever felt powerful, that she's ever felt like she's had some semblance of control. And she can't give that up. So I guess we're going to talk to Abe. So Elwyn wakes up with a new purpose in life, but before she can do anything at all, Drac knocks on her door, wakes her up, and says, "Hello, Gideon is missing." And the party goes, "Excuse me, what?" So the party quickly gets ready and heads outside and is gonna go try to figure out where Gideon has gone. We can grab our horses and Hildy and the cart and follow the path pretty easily to figure out where Gideon has gone. And it leads us kind of through these cornfields of Balesville until we finally find a house. Nell goes up and knocks on the door, and the person that answers introduces himself as Gideon's father, which is crazy because Gideon told us that his father was dead. So the whole party is like, what? And I think Elwyn kind of comes into this house extremely suspicious. This does not align with what Gideon told us before. And that's when Gideon's father starts chastising the rest of the group for bringing a child out with them so early, which is a thing. Between last episode and this episode, Denny asked the entire cast what kind of things they would like to see in the story. And I did bring up to him that I would like to see more people treat Elwyn as a child, because it is kind of weird that a 9-year-old is just hanging out with all these adults. I had a vision in my head of how a situation like this would go, but the party reacted so differently than how I expected them to, because as soon as Gideon's dad said, like, "Oh, like, come here, Missy," the rest of the party jumped in. Abe immediately was like, "She's stronger than she looks, you know." I didn't even know how to react, and I don't think Elwyn did either. I'm not sure people defend Elwyn very often, but the being called a child thing is very traumatic for her. It's been her entire life, you know, where she's just trying to live her life. She's trying to just do her thing, and people will say, "Oh, sweetheart, where's your mommy and daddy?" It's so frustrating for her. You know, she has to fight to be treated like an adult. And it's been like that for 300 years, where she has to advocate for herself just to be like respected, just to have someone listen to her. So I'm gonna toot my own horn here a little bit, because I do like how I played this. I use D&D and Dicely especially as like acting exercises. I do try to stay in character. You know, obviously not all the time. But when we're doing like big role play scenes like this, I do try to stay in character, you know, emotionally throughout the whole thing. And I feel like in this scene, you can see me go from inquisitive and confused and like, what the fuck is going on, to very sad after he calls her a child. Like I was saying, she was starting to feel powerful and in control. And I think it surprised her in a bad way how quickly that all disappears. And it sucks. But it kind of only gets worse from this point too. Gideon did come here last night and he passed out in front of the house and he's sleeping in his bed. So the group goes back to check in on him and we wake him up and he's like, what's going on? Is my dad here? What's happening? And then Gideon's mom and dad come into the room and they have this amazing family reunion. Gideon's parents thought he was dead. Gideon thought his parents were dead. The three of them all get to like reconnect and have this beautiful reunion. This sucks for Elwyn too, because Elwyn was very, very close with her mother. Elwyn's mother died quite recently. Elwyn's already kind of in a fragile state after what happened with his dad. And then watching this like family reunion happen is like so hard for her to watch. You know, she would give anything to have this kind of a moment with her mother. Because Elwyn's mom was always her champion. She was the one who would do the defending when it needed to happen. You know, she would tell people off for speaking poorly to Elwyn. So after already being in a fragile state, feeling childish and powerless, and then being reminded that she doesn't have her mom on her side anymore, it's just really hard for Elwyn to watch. On top of all of this, I don't think these people are real. They're ghosts or doppelgangers or maybe they are his parents, but something really fishy is going on here. This isn't real. This isn't as good as it seems. And I think that is also why this scene was so sad. This sucks. This is really sad. This is the saddest I've been in D&D in a while. And so that's why I had Elwyn like leave the room as soon as they started like hugging and reuniting, because Elwyn is like, I can't watch this. And that's kind of where the episode ends. I mean, this is not a situation that ends with a happy ending, but it's a good story. I think that's where we'll wrap this up. This feels like it's been going on for forever. If you want to watch the latest episode of the Play Dicely campaign, links are up in my bio. You can catch us live every other Saturday on Twitch at twitch.tv/DicelyDND. Again, the links are in the bio. But until next time, I hope you all stay happy and healthy. Bye!